Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's little tutorial, I'm going to be painting a lilac using some water mixable oil. I'll be applying using a brush, and I'm also going to show you how you can really make your painting looser and kind of get more energy using some palette knife to finish it off. So we're going to start tight and then we'll end loose. So to start off, I'm using this Princeton Velvet Touch brush, and I'm using a little canvas paper. So I just got a pad of canvas paper for doing little demonstrations like this, because when you do demos, they don't always turn out the greatest. And I just also want you to see how you can practice using canvas paper. So I'll leave a link in the description to both of these things. And then if you want to try it out, you can. So to get started, you can see I've labeled my colors. I'm going to just sort of block in a little, I'm going to put in a little, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to kind of block in a little bit of the sky color first. And I'm going to use just some cobalt and a little titanium white. And I can use a tiny dab of, I've got some of this Cobra glazing medium, which is just like a linseed oil. I could just put a little bit of that. Let me just put a little dab of that on my palette here. And kind of use that to spread it around. I don't like using water with water mixable oil because it changes the color and it can kind of dilute the paint, almost makes it into like a milky color, which I really don't like. So as far as I know, it's better to use the linseed oil because as you can see, it creates a nice thin layer, but it doesn't make the paint change any color. The one thing is you don't want to put too much of it around, because like all mediums, your paint can kind of get a little bit, it starts to kind of get slippery on the canvas. So just following the reference photo, and the reference photo I've got out is from Unsplash. It's a royalty-free reference, and I'm going to leave a link in the description. If there's any flowers that you see out there in this beautiful world vase that you would like me to paint, please leave me a comment. Just let me know, and I try to always follow through, although not many people ask me to paint flowers, like the flowers that they want. So hopefully that's because I'm just painting the flowers already that they like. So anyhow, I've got out that little wash of cobalt white, and I used a little bit of that water mixable glazing medium, which really worked well. I made this decision a while back to switch to using water mixable oil, and I'm really glad I did. I decided I'm going to be working in my studio and I don't want to be breathing all the chemicals. So for the permanent rose, you can get that color from Winsor Newton Artisan water mixable, and it's a very good color. I wouldn't recommend all of Winsor Newton for all of their colors. For example, I wouldn't use the yellow. I would use Cobra for yellow, but for the permanent rose, this is a really great color. And to save money and cut down on costs, I'm using a cobalt blue hue from Aqua Duo. This is a really good brand, really high quality brand out of Japan. So can't go wrong with this. For a hue, it works super well because the quality of their paint is so high end and so good that you can't go wrong. So might as well use a little bit of that permanent rose to block in, and some of the glazing medium, and I'm just gonna block in a layer of that. I'm gonna try to keep this lesson simple, so I'm just blocking in some of that permanent rose for the first lilac branch here. And what's really perfect with this is when as I'm blocking in the rough shape of this lilac, I'm noticing already something which I would call a happy accident here. The cobalt is mixing with the permanent rose, and that brings me to one of the things I was going to teach in this little lesson. Is one of my favorite kind of purpley blue hues is the mixture of permanent rose, or if you don't have permanent rose, just feel free to use some quinacridone red and cobalt, and you'll get that beautiful kind of purpley blue. You can already see it forming on the edges, which is just, like I say, I am not it's I won't take credit for that one. That just happened, and I'm glad it did, because I learned when I paint and I'm thinking academically like this of how I can show people how to paint, then I actually learn a lot myself, because I'm actually paying attention to some of the things that I'm doing. So I'm putting in those shapes, and of course, as you'll get the reference photo from the link in the description. There's kind of two different lilac shades. I thought that would be good too as a part of this lesson, to sort of try out two different shades of lilacs. So one's a light pink and one's more of a dark pink. There's going to be some green leaf there, and I'll just keep going. So another thing in the shadow is going to be sort of that light purpley tone. So you can go right ahead and mix in. We can start on the lighter pink one, and so mix in a little white to that pink color. And now what you can do is, I'll show you with the brush, where we can go ahead and start making some of those shapes. You want to leave a bit of that dark pink below, because that's what it shows off that there's lilac petals there. So you kind of just use the edge of the brush and sort of make some little marks. And I'm following sort of the path that I see in the reference there. And then you can get a little cobalt blue in the mix and make that sort of, the shadow is a real, maybe that's a little too dark. The shadow is very like a dark kind of purpley blue. I'll add a little bit of white to that, because it's everything always looks different when you actually put it down. So I'm just making a little shadow color here. So you can see that sort of building in there, that that shape, but we're not going to get picky on the details yet. I'm going to move over to this one, and this is the more darker pink, and so you can see this one's going to be a lot lighter than this one. So I'm going to mix up some of that pink using a little, I'll use a little less white in this mixture to get some of those petals. Well, I gotta use a little more than that. So just sort of do the same thing, but keep in mind you want to have some of that shadow pattern in there from the reference photo. And there's a big green leaf right here, but we'll fit that in maybe a little less. It takes up kind of the whole front of the picture. So I use the photo reference as sort of a guide, but I don't, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly. So, and now same thing, we can get a little bit of that cobalt in there and get some of the shadow that's kind of in real dark. If it's too blue, just go get more of the permanent rose and get it a little bit pinker. But it is really dark and you want it to show up that sort of dark pattern. And definitely on the far side, it's very dark. So I'm gonna dab in some of the darker color. Because we want to really, we're going to add a lot of texture with the palette knife later. Okay, and you can just sort of use your brush to blend it, or sometimes, as if you've been watching my other flower videos, I'll just use a paper towel. Get some more paper towels off here. I use one of these Viva towels and just rip it in half, and I'll kind of just drag my paper towel on top of the surface, and it really creates a nice blending feature there. Sometimes I'll even fold it up like this to a point, and you can even, you know, dab some areas that, maybe you want to sort of reshape some of these edges, just sort of dab out some of the extra paint. But I really like using all these things to get my painting. Okay, so now you can see there's some dimension in the painting as well. And even if we left it at that, it would be fine. I'll put in a little bit of that sap green here and there. There's a leaf coming out of the lilac up here. So I'm just using the same brush, and I've hardly even rinsed my brush. I just wipe it off. So there's a bit of lilac kind of leaves coming out everywhere. So sometimes you go by the photo, and then sometimes you just sort of put one that maybe looks nice. I'm not one of those people. I've taken courses from many experts who spend hours literally taping leaves together so that they're painting what they see. And that's really good, and I'm really happy for them. But my personality, by the time I spent a few hours doing that, I'd have to go get my kids from school, and I wouldn't get a painting painted for you for my YouTube channel. So sometimes you just have to use your imagination when you paint. So I'm just gonna block in some green around that one down there. And also, I don't like creating a lot of rules for myself. Art should be a way of relaxing, and yet it's part of human nature to go and create rules for everything. So if you're taking classes and you're hearing that there's a lot of rules and kind of only one way to do things, then that might not be the greatest way to start, because you start getting yourself boxed in right away, and that doesn't work well when you're trying to be creative. I'm just kind of, for now, putting a few of those little sprigs of green in there, because when we get going with the palette knife later, you know, that sort of thing it's good to have a little bit of that in now, because then you can put some leaves over top. You can even take a little of that cad yellow light and just put a few. You can even mix some, if you don't have sap green, look at how nice you can make a green using the cad yellow light and some of the cobalt. And you can add a little white to it and change it up again. Okay, so there you see it. There's some little bit of different, greens there. And now I am going to put out a little more white. I've got this Cobra titanium white, and I buy the large bottle in white because of all the paints you go through. You're gonna go through 3 times the amount of white compared to, for example, using pink or something. Okay, so now I'm gonna use this palette knife here. I have a bunch of different sizes, and sometimes like this little one here might be better for doing some of the details. So I'll use a few of these different ones we can try. So I'm just gonna grab some of that titanium white and mix it right into this puddle of the permanent rose. And because I know I'm gonna use more of that as well, I'm just gonna put some of that out. But for this real light pink one, I think I'll start with this light pink mix here, and I'll test that out. So you can make really kind of lilac-y type petals just using the tip. So I'm loading my little palette knife up and just sort of dabbing some paint on there. And I really like that. And then where the light's hitting the side of your shadow, you're gonna just take a little bit and, you can put some on the edge there. But look, it's coming to life now. You can almost look like an expert when you use a palette knife. And look at how quickly it gives just another layer of dimension to your painting. And if you don't want to use the palette knife, feel free just to, I'll show you with a little brush here, just take a little dab of that and do it with a paintbrush. So you can see it makes, it's making similar contrast and everything. I will say the main difference is you get a little bit of a lighter highlight when you use the palette knife. But you can do a little bit of both, or just go with the palette knife. I kind of like that it's a little more expressive. And you make some marks that you wouldn't really think you would, you know, do. Just sort of happens. Okay, now I'm going to add some, well, I'll do some of those highlights there. So I'm going to use the little bit of that cobalt, permanent rose, and some white. And make up that sort of shadow color. And just kind of, especially where you got these leaves on there, it's kind of nice to cross over so they're more in the background now. And the palette knife is really forces you to try different things, and it really does help you to loosen up your paintings. Put some of that shadow color in here. Especially with this kind of flower, it really is turns it into a real three-dimensional painting. And there's a little shadow kind of trailing off here. So that kind of works. And now I'm going to just finish on this side. I'll get some, I put more white out. More pink. So the pink is the highlight pink I'll kind of go with something a little bit darker to start. And just kind of look at, you can kind of see the way those lilacs are, the angle of the buds that kind of go up like that. You can kind of just go with the flow there. I'm kind of putting them in the direction that I see them going. Just sort of building. And then these ones, you start to actually kind of see them a bit in the photo. So I kind of, they're messy, but you can see that they're a little bit more particular. And then on the dark side, again, same thing. Get some cobalt, get some of the permanent rose, or if you're using quinacridone red, bulk up that paint on that side. So kind of want to go for, if it's a little like that, to me is maybe a little too blue, I'm going to switch it up and add more. In this pile you can see this is where I added more of the permanent rose. And you can just do a little test. The darkest is where you see it going against the sky here. So you could start with some of those real dark petals. I'm going to add a little more white now and get some of those ones that are picking up light, but they're still in the shadow. So a little bit of a lighter, That one looks funny. Too much white still not mixed in there. They're light but not bright, you know what I mean? They're still kind of in that shadow color range, so. And then just add variety. I'm gonna add a little white to that transparent shadow mix I had made for the flower. So I'm just adding some variety there. And then add a little of that purple into your pink mix and you'll get sort of a lighter shadow color up there. Okay, so then I'm gonna just take a little bit of, I wanna add a little bit of bulk to the leaves there because they are just a little too flat. So I'm just adding a little bit of palette knife paint to those. And if I was going to, you know, work on this painting to finish it for, like if I was selling this, I would take a little white and some cobalt and maybe add a little bit of texture to the background because I don't want to see just all smooth background with all this texture in my painting. So you want to always add a little bit of texture to the background. You can work some of that into the edges as well, so it really creates a painterly look. How beautiful is that? So that's about it, you know. I really, let's take the tape off here. Really enjoyed painting this on this Monday morning for you. And like I say, if there's a flower that you want to see me paint, please leave me a comment below. And I also have a Patreon channel where I have lots of lessons there, or you can go there just to support my videos, and I really appreciate that as well. So there you have it, the lilacs. So I hope you try this out and let me know if you have any questions or need any other flowers that you're stuck on and you want me to paint, just let me know. And thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.